Hello everyone, this is PKL Entertainment and we are back again, and here now we have another video for you, and we're just going to talk quickly about the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial and give some overall thoughts over the main highlights of the first week of the court showdown. So we all know the story by now, the long running saga over both actor and actress. They met of course on the set of the Rum Diary movie back in 2011 I believe, before a long time dating, eventually getting married in 2015, going on to be divorced in 2016 amid allegations over Johnny Depp abusing Amber. The divorce was eventually settled, with Amber receiving around $7 million as part of this settlement. So at this stage you feel the issue is done and dusted, but then Amber released a newspaper column making certain references into how she dealt with physical abuse. Now while she didn't name Johnny in any of these statements, it certainly gave the indication that Johnny had abused her during their marriage. As a result of this, Johnny then filed a $50 million lawsuit against Amber for defamation. He had a separate battle in court against the Sun newspaper, who had labelled him a wife beater. He took it to trial but then eventually lost. In her own response, Amber Heard filed a $100 million countersuit against Johnny, accusing him of launching a smear campaign against her, which all then moves forward to the current trial that we are all witnessing across all social media and general audiences alike. So in terms of my position, I've watched extensive coverage of the trial from several YouTube channels and also Sky News as well within the first week. And overall I'd say from a watching experience it's been very interesting, though also very prolonged and very frustrating at times. Now we do realise of course that this isn't like the movies, despite ironically involving movie stars. This is a trial that will be very much decided on the evidence, of which there are multiple forms of, so there won't be as much sensationalism within the trial. There'll be multiple forms of evidence that will be gone over in very great detail, almost excruciating detail I would say, to be honest with you. So throughout the trial we've seen a lot of very repetitive questions from both of the respective lawyer teams, where the goal it seems isn't very much to establish the truth in terms of evidence, but more so to provide enough doubt over the individual's characters, almost to convince the jury that one is capable of abuse or one is capable of lying about the abuse. So all of the prolonged questions that we've seen from the witnesses so far almost seems like they are fishing. They're fishing for any additional dirt that they could then use to convince the jury about the character of both Johnny and Amber. And this is the main reason why a lot of the segments of the trial so far really seem to drag, and I can only emphasise with the jury having to sit there all day, 7 hours, having to listen to all of the questions and statements. I felt this particularly during the questioning of Johnny's sister, Christy Dabrowski, who is also his personal manager, who I think was probably on the stand for the longest in terms of a witness. I think it ran roughly around to 3 hours in total that she was questioned for, and we had various questions about her earnings and whether she works for Johnny's companies. And this is the type of questioning that I felt was really pointless, because it doesn't really bear any relevance as to how much she earns or how many companies she works for Johnny. That's got no integral importance in terms of determining whether Johnny abused Amber or not. So that was the kind of question that really frustrated me. Now they did ask her a lot more about the text that she was sharing between her and Amber during certain instances where there were arguments between her and Johnny, and a lot of the time throughout this trial so far they were really emphasising a lot on Johnny's well-known substance abuse in terms of his drinking and his cocaine use. And as I mentioned before, this was really the main ambition, to try and taint his character in terms of referring back to how much drugs and cocaine that he was using. Now of course, just because somebody uses a lot of substance, that doesn't necessarily mean that they abuse someone, but that's the direction that they were going in. And this was more on the side of Amber's legal team. They were constantly pushing on the fact that how concerned was Christy in terms of her text. Was she relaying to the fact that Johnny was drugged up all the time, or was he drinking too much? And they kept pushing it all the time, but I think overall I felt she was a good witness on the stand in answering a lot of the questions. Now one of the biggest positive aspects, certainly from Johnny's perspective, was the testimony given by his longtime friend Isaac Baruch, who had known Johnny I believe for over 40 years, and Isaac came across as very endearing and very charismatic to nearly everybody watching in terms of the trial and general audiences as well. Here he revealed how Johnny helped him in terms of his painting business, in terms of financial support, and also letting him stay in one of his houses rent free I believe for a lot of the time. And I think one of the reasons why everybody liked Isaac is because he came across as very genuine. He didn't really attack or abuse Amber. He stated a lot of the time that he showed a lot of favour towards Amber and that he had no real ill will towards her. Now, they did press on Isaac a lot in terms of not knowing the exact makeup that Amber was wearing, because he stated that he didn't really see any marks on her face to indicate any abuse that she may have suffered. But the lawyer for Amber's team was pushing back on this, stating that he wouldn't know. He wasn't aware of the certain type of makeup that Amber would use in order to conceal any damages on her face. So again, there was a lot of prolonged questions surrounding that issue, but overall Isaac did very well. I think in his testimony, he did passionately speak out as to why he felt Amber was doing wrong in terms of making us go all through this, in terms of the allegations as well. So very passionate look, and again, the lawyer was biting back a bit at him about this, but overall I think Isaac came across very well, and that was a very plus point for Johnny. We then had Kate James, who was Amber's personal assistant, and she was very blunt and sarcastic, but very truthful about her testimony. She did reveal certain aspects about Amber's bad behaviour towards her sister and her mother in terms of aggression, and how she felt she was very mistreated by Amber in terms of being underpaid, and even revealed an incident when Amber actually spat in her face. So again, this is not really building towards whether Johnny abused Amber or not, but it was more about, again, tainting the behaviour and the character of Amber herself. Now, without question, the most dramatic event of the whole trial throughout this week was the testimony of Gina, Jotas, who was a friend of Johnny Depp's. And to be honest, she was extremely nervous when giving her testimony. She was taking deep breaths and struggling to get her words out, trying to answer the questions. Now, this is to be expected, especially when you are a friend of one of the people on trial, because you're so conscious about saying anything that may work against them. So it was completely understandable, her demeanour during this case, and I wouldn't envy her position at all. But the real controversy came about when Amber's legal team came up to the judge with a suggestion about Gina, and then the judge went up to her and asked her whether she had watched any previous clips of the trial itself, which of course you're not allowed to do when giving a testimony in court. Now, Gina gave the honest answer and admitted to seeing certain clips on social media, and as a result of this, she had to be escorted from the courtroom, and the judge had to strike her testimony from the trial. Now, the extra controversy here was that it seemed from the sidebar that Amber was sitting in around that certain notes had been passed to an individual known as Eve Barlow, who was a big supporter of Amber Heard and also a journalist, I believe. And apparently, Eve Barlow was monitoring the social media activities of Gina. They had noticed that Gina had liked a certain Instagram post surrounding the trial, which certainly gave the indication that she was monitoring events on social media. So there's all sorts of speculations around this turn of events. Does Amber have certain spies monitoring witnesses of Johnny in terms of their social media? What other machinations or manipulations are going on during this trial? And a further development recently happened when the judge had decided to remove Eve Barlow from any future appearances within the courtroom. There were instances where she had carried a mobile phone into the trial, again, which I don't believe she's allowed to do. And this is when the judge deemed that she was no longer appropriate to attend the court. So she was escorted out from the trial. And to be honest, I'm not surprised, because again, it just brings about further controversy within the court, which again affects the mentality or the judgment, if you like, of the jury themselves. They could be thinking, if Amber is doing all of these underhanded tactics, shall we say, in terms of monitoring people on social media, is she more capable of making false allegations and lies about Johnny? Now, we did have further lengthy testimonies that were pre-recorded videos, including the likes of the marriage counsellor, Dr. Laurel Anderson, who basically stated that there were heated discussions between the two, but very much gave the impression that it was 50-50, that it wasn't one person abusing the other, and she did make certain inclinations about the aggressive behaviour of Amber during these discussions. We did have another lengthy segment later on concerning Johnny Depp's doctor, and this was surrounding the incident where Johnny had a severed finger. They went over certain texts that were very contentious or very confrontational between both Johnny and the doctor. Now, it has been reported throughout the following of this trial that perhaps it was Amber who had indeed caused the finger injury to Johnny, but they were just going over the events, and again, very much prolonged questioning. Again, they were trying back to Johnny's drug use and cocaine use, and the doctor was fair. He said that he saw no indication again of any violence or abuse shown by Johnny in terms of Amber as well. So it was these two segments that it was very trying in terms of staying with the trial, because they were just going repetitive questions and it was just lengthening out the overall court proceedings as well. So I think in summary, I think in terms of who has come out on top in many ways, I would say overall, I'd probably say Johnny. Just more in terms of perception, I think the controversy surrounding the Eve Barlow again gave that negative perception in terms of Amber. I think the fact that both the marriage counsellor and the doctor haven't come out and said that there were any examples of abuse that was shown by Johnny has worked well within his favour. I think the statements from Laurel Anderson and Kate James certainly gives the impression that Amber is very much the person who certainly is more aggressive to Johnny, or just as aggressive in their overall discussions. So again, this is going to play, I think, against Amber, because it's going to go against the idea that she's the one that is being abused. Now, of course, this is only the first week, and I don't think at this stage we can give any early indication that Johnny will definitely win or Amber will definitely win. As I said before, what should really determine this case is the overall evidence. But from what I've seen so far during this week, I've almost seen a lot of character assassination, which gives the indication that there isn't enough evidence to support either individual's case. So they're looking for other avenues to try and convince the jury otherwise. So we will see what happens during the second week of the trial. Now, I've followed various other channels during the coverage, and it has been suggested that we will get far more of a celebrity selection of witnesses in the second week. It has been suggested that actor Paul Bettany will be giving testimony. We all know him primarily from playing Vision within all of the Marvel movies. James Franco, another actor, will be getting involved with his testimony. I did watch another channel that suggested that famed actress Ellen Barkin will also be making a witness statement as well. And most notoriously, Elon Musk will be making some sort of statement. Now, we all know Elon Musk, of course, probably the richest man in the world right now, and has also had a previous dating history supposedly with Amber as well. Now, I'm not sure we'll get all of those witnesses within certainly the next week. It will be great from a viewing perspective if we do, and if that schedule of testimonies does happen, then the ratings and the coverage for this trial will go through the roof, certainly in the second week. So hopefully from a watchable perspective, that we do get far more of a celebrity type of style testimony throughout the second week. And it will be interesting, of course, to see when exactly will both Johnny and Amber give their overall testimonies as well. So really overall, an interesting, if not slightly frustrating, watchable experience, but I'm sure we're definitely guaranteed for far more intrigue in the next upcoming weeks to come overall. So those are my overall thoughts and feelings on the first week of the very publicised trial, the defamation case between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Now, I won't be covering this on a daily basis. There are several other channels that are doing a fantastic job already of that, and I'm watching those as well. But I'll probably do a weekly summary. If you do enjoy me giving my overall thoughts on this, let me know in the comments, and if it proves to be well liked, and I'll continue to give weekly summaries, because that might be the case as well. Unless something truly sensational happens, that might be the best way forward, because there's updates happening all the time, so it's very difficult to keep constantly providing videos when there are constant reveals of news happening almost within the hour. So I'll probably continue to do weekly summaries, and if there are any other big events as well during this trial, then I will give my overall opinions and thoughts on those as well. But let me know in the comments if you'd like to see me continue this coverage on the channel as well. Please also hit and like those subscription buttons so I can provide you with more high quality content like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves, stay at safe distances, and I will see you very, very soon.